Welcome to the Sales Lead Dog Podcast, hosted by CRM technology and sales process expert Christopher Smith, talking with sales leaders that have separated themselves from the rest of the pack. Listen to find out how the best of the best achieve success with their team and CRM technology. And remember, unless you are the lead dog, the view never changes.
Welcome to Sales Lead Dog. Today I have joining me John McDonnell. John, welcome to Sales Lead Dog.
Hey, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here, John. John, tell me a bit about your current role in your company, Signum Displays.
So I am the Director of Business Development here at Signum Displays. And basically what we do is we create point of purchase displays and sales samples for companies across the country. We found that companies kind of have a tough time standing out in the retail environment, especially now. So what we do is, we have longstanding relationships with big box stores and things like that. And what we do is we take an analytical approach and create eye-catching, affordable POP displays and sales samples that actually get results in ROI. I've been in the industry for 17 years, and this is just a good fit for me. Yeah,
it was funny when I was researching your company before, we had you on the show and doing all my homework. It kind of made me think for a minute that, when you're in the stores and you're looking at stuff, you never think about what's behind that display, when all the work that went into it. Nobody ever thinks about that at all. They're just like, oh, this stuff looks cool or whatever. That's probably intentional on your part, right? You want them focused on the product.
Yeah, exactly. But there's definitely some support that can go into that product that makes it stand out a little bit more. And that's kind of where we come in. But you're totally right, Chris. Before I got to Signum, you go in, you want to buy a faucet or you want to buy something, and you don't really pay much attention to what's going on, or neither do you know what actually goes into making that sort of display. You just notice the product, and there's quite a bit that goes into it. And it's really interesting stuff.
I started paying attention, like next time I went into Lowe's or Home Depot and I'm looking at that big display of faucets or whatever, and you're like, a lot of work went into putting this together. We didn't just wing it in the store,
No, for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. John, thinking back over your career, what are the three things that have really contributed and driven your success?
Let's see here. So when I got started, my first sales job was kind of like a boiler room. We really we had to make a bunch of calls, set a bunch of appointments, and then that really set the tone for some really good habits of mine. So I think one of the biggest things was discipline. Number two, having a short memory, not being able to let rejection get you down, and then much later in my career, developing my own style and just being authentic. That really that translates and speaks volumes when you're not trying to wear a mask and be somebody that you're not, when you're just yourself and you're just honest. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. You mentioned discipline as the first one. Was that something you had going into your sales career, or is that something you had to develop?
It's something I thought I had, but yeah, over time, I had to develop it. I kind of gave myself a structured routine, made little call sheets, and set goals for calls per day, and just really picked up and dialed and got hung up on. The door slammed in my face a lot, but you figure that out. And if you could just push through that, it's cool when you come to the other side. And I guess there's a fourth there too, and it's being comfortable with being uncomfortable, putting yourself in situations that you normally wouldn't be in, and that's where the magic is, man. That's where it happens.
Yeah. Oh, I believe it. You also mentioned kind of having a thick skin.
Mm-hmm.
Was that how long did it take you to get to that point where you really were able to deal with rejection?
Well, early in my career, I really didn't have a choice. It was either sink or swim. So you kind of had to. If I didn't have thick skin, I had to put on a really thick jacket for a while and just, kind of fake it. But that probably took me a good couple of years to really deal with that and get down to it and just not really care. Just pick up the phone again and go to the next call.
What was your first job in sales?
Well, I sold business to business telephone service. So we did, it was God, this is years ago. So this is before voice over IP. It was actually just starting to come out. So basically I sold long distance service to company to company, just picking up and dialing and setting appointments. And it was, it was ruthless. You had to get in there and say your pitch. And, I had a boss who was, he was great. He was set it out all for me. And that was like the basis of my sales career, just setting out that structure, setting 5 appointments a day. You were making 70 to 100 calls a day. And then that was it. So you do that and all's well with the world. And, he wasn't lying when he told me it was a numbers game, because once you started doing that day in and day out, all of a sudden the appointments start rolling in.
Yep. You've had a pretty good progression through your career. What motivated you to go from sales into sales leadership?
It was kind of a real natural progression. When I started my next job, which was with Alexis Exhibits, we did custom trade show exhibits. It was actually my stepfather started the company, and it was really a ground floor. So he needed a sales guy, and he came to me and just said, what do you think? And we did it. And honestly, I thought that it would be something that I would do for a little while, and it ended up being 17 years. So it turns out I was good at it. And once we started growing, it got too much for him to handle. And I started slowly taking over a little bit more of the sales role. And then all of a sudden it progressed into sales leadership.
Yeah. And, that's one of the things that attracted me when I was looking at your profile to invite you on the podcast, is you were there for 17 years. You don't see that very much anymore.
No, it's it definitely is rare nowadays to see that. And it was a great opportunity and a great company to work for when I was there, and I really enjoyed it and learned a lot. But when push came to shove, and I just had an opportunity to grow and see a new challenge, and I had to take it.
How did you learn, or how did you keep yourself into learning mode when you're at the same company like that for so long, and not necessarily having other people mentoring you or whatever?
Well, my boss, my stepfather was a pretty decent mentor for me. He taught me and showed me the ropes really early on. But since it was custom trade show exhibits, things changed constantly. Styles changed, everything changed. And since we were growing, we constantly had people coming in and out. So what kept me motivated is just the different styles and the different trends that were going on at the time. And just, kind of learning, how to present those and what was going on in the industry and in presenting those to clients and prospects. So
it really sounds like you really had to spend as much time being an expert in the industry as it was an expert being in sales. Is that accurate?
Yeah, you really had to know what's going on, and then you also had to know how to communicate that with clients and prospects, for sure.
So you were with them for 17 years. You were vice president of sales when you left Alexis. Can you talk a little bit or share with us a little bit about, moving from Alexis to Signum?
Yeah, that was a hard transition. I mean, our hard decision to make. The transition took care of itself once I decided to make it. But it was a family business, so it was real tough. But like I said, the opportunity presented to me here at Signum was just, I just couldn't pass it up. It was a way to kind of start over and start fresh and start from the ground and kind of build a team the way that I wanted to build a team. And so far it's been awesome.
Yeah. It's hard for people, I think a lot of people, to make a leap like that, especially when you've been at one place for so long. You really get a comfort zone established.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us a little bit about what you were thinking about, or your thought process around making that leap, and what ultimately, was there one or two things that ultimately led you to pull that trigger and say it's time?
Excuse me. I just kind of felt in a rut. I felt like I've done all that I can do here. And it's just in order for me to grow and maximize my potential, I suppose, I had to move on, and that was really it. And like I said, there's no ill will towards Alexis or that. It was really a great place to work, but it was just, I've done all I could do there, and I had to move.
Yeah, I totally get that. That's one of the reasons why I like being a consultant is I don't think I could ever be a regular employee. I need so much variety. I like being challenged and having those new challenges all the time. So I totally get that. Um, what was the hardest thing about the transition and what was the easiest thing about the transition?
Um, you know, they're probably the same thing. Actually making the decision and weighing, the pros and cons of both. And once I finally was able to, come to that crossroads, that was the easy part. But I guess to answer your question more directly, the hardest part was actually weighing the pros and cons and figuring out and getting over the unknown. And then, just finally getting there and going, you know what, I got to take this leap and do it. And that part was easy. That was just taking one step.
Yeah. I was reading a book yesterday where the author was talking about when you need to make a really, really hard decision, we typically drag our feet and analyze, and we're not really sure. But then once you make that decision, you move forward and you think about it. And here, his hypothesis, there's about 36 hours of pain that you have to go through around making that decision and going through the transition, all the things you have to do to tell people and whatever goes involved with that big decision. But then once you're through it on the other side, you're done. And his whole thing was like, if you added up all the pain you went through before that with all the pros and the cons and all the analysis, 36 hours really isn't that bad.
No, so not at all.
Yeah. His whole thing was like, those tough decisions, make them and move on because it's 36 hours of pain.
Well, that's like the movie Risky Business. You know what I mean? It's sometimes you just got to say what the blank and make your move. That's really what it is.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I love that. So now at Signum, you've got this opportunity to build out your sales team, like you said, the way you want it. What's your strategy for building out your sales team moving forward?
Well, you know what? Truthfully, I am really busy with getting my bearings here. But truthfully, what I really want is I want young, hungry go-getters. I want people who can are coachable. And that's basically what I believe in. I believe in more of a player coach model as opposed to a carrot and a stick. I'm here to help you get done what needs to be done, not to tell you what needs to be done. So my strategy is to find people who are driven and share that same mentality. They want to learn, they're hungry, and they want to get into a business that can be very lucrative and continue on that route.
People can say they're hungry and aggressive in an interview. How do you find out if they've got that fire in their belly?
You give them a chance. That's how you do it. You can only do in an interview what you can do. You can only ask so many questions. And if a person's a good salesperson, they're going to
sell.
Yeah, they're going to sell themselves. So the only way to do it is they have the rubber meet the road and give them a shot. And I think that, you could probably tell if a person's doing what they say they're going to do within about, 60 to 90 days. You're going to see if a person's motivated or not.
Yep. If you find out, you get into that scenario where, hey, maybe this person isn't what I thought or was hoping they would be. How do you handle that scenario?
I think you let them know. You know what I mean? You let them know up front once you start noticing a problem, and you give them every chance to correct it. And then as soon as they don't, you have to, again, like we talked about earlier, you gotta weigh the pros and the cons. You got to make your decision. You got to do it as soon as possible. And that's in your best interest, the company's best interest, and the person who is doing the job's best interest. Just let them move on.
Yep. So that's where that coaching philosophy comes into play. Do you have any particular area that you'd like to start with when you notice someone's having a problem? How do you dive in and identify the root issue there?
Well, I think it becomes pretty obvious, especially in sales. I mean, you're either doing it or you're not. And I think if there's an issue with a certain aspect, like they're just not getting in front of enough people, or they're complacent, or it's a time management issue, you bring it to the forefront immediately, and you let them know what's going on. I think that being transparent and communicating clearly, especially with expectations up front, is crucial. Because if you don't do that, then, you know, you're both kind of out there, and you're expecting something, they're expecting something, and you both are starting to get angry and frustrated. And I think that, you know, just letting them know what's going on immediately as soon as you notice it, in, you know, a professional, cordial way, I think it serves everybody. You know, I've heard, you know, people being berated, people being humiliated, and that's just no way to do it. You know, you're not going to get anywhere with that. You know, you have to give them a chance.
Yeah, I agree with that. When you think back to young John getting started in sales, if you were hiring young John into the, you know, to join your team now, what would be that one or two things you would want to teach young John to be an effective salesperson?
Get out of your comfort zone more. I wasted so much time, you know, trying to mold my approach to what I thought somebody wanted instead of being authentic. And, you know, once I found that and I was able to do that, it just opened so many doors. And it allowed me to close some doors too, quite frankly, where, you know, we weren't a good fit. And I would just say, you know, be yourself, be authentic, you know, keep that drive, keep being hungry, but just, I hired you for a reason. I hired you. I didn't hire somebody you want to be you.
Right. What was your, thinking back to young John, I mean, was there any particular obstacles that you struggled with early on that you leverage as a learning experience for any young team members you bring on now?
Yeah, you know, I've won a lot of deals and I've lost a lot of big deals. And the ones that I've learned the most from are the ones that I've lost, you know, and I think that the experience from, you know, just really caring too much what people thought, especially in presentations, is, you know, that was a big detriment. And I learned from that. That allowed me to develop a style that was just, you know, way more me, instead of trying to, you know, be somebody in a book I read, or, you know, be my boss, you know, because I'm not that, I'm me, and you get what you get, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And people can tell when you're faking it. I mean, they sniff that out so quick.
Absolutely. I mean, that is the truth. And that is just I mean, you could see it when you're buying a car, or when you're doing anything. If someone's trying to be slick, you could, we could see right through it. It's just be yourself, man. That's it. Relax and be yourself.
Yeah. I felt so bad for a guy called me yesterday. I answered the phone. No one, was probably a sales call. And this guy immediately launched into his pitch. And I was thinking, number one, the guy didn't engage with me at all. Like, Chris, how you doing? You having a good day, or anything? It was just like, Chris, I'm gonna sell you. What would you say to that? You know, if that guy was on your team, what would you say to that person about their approach?
You're selling to a human being. Be a human being. That's it. You know, what's on your mind is getting your pitch out as fast as humanly possible, so you can either, you know, see if he's going to bite, or she's going to bite, or move on to the next one. And that's just not how people buy. You know, you gotta relate. You know, you gotta engage. You gotta have a conversation as opposed to giving a speech.
Right. It was clear to me the person had no idea what my business was, who I was. I was a name on a list that he had to call. And why do you think people are still trying to sell that way these days?
My guess would be because they have somebody, a boss behind them, telling them, make the call, keep moving. Where you can get so much more for having 30 seconds of research, just going on a website and finding out what people are doing, or checking a LinkedIn profile and figuring out what these people are about, as opposed to just launching into your pitch right away. Because honestly, you don't know what's going on in my world. You know, I'm sure you were doing something else when you picked up the phone.
Yeah.
You know, you got to have some empathy for that. You know, just people are busy, especially now.
Yeah.
And if someone actually picks up the phone, you know, you gotta at least engage them, and, you know, understand that they're taking time out of their day. You're disrupting their day. Understand that.
Yeah. I felt bad for the guy. I'm like, dude, you're not getting the training you need to be effective. And I wanted to tell him that, but I was busy. I didn't have time. Like, hey, look, you're going to call someone. Let me tell you, first thing, check out my LinkedIn profile, learn a little bit about my company, and say, hey, Chris, I know you guys sell CRM, blah, 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 blah. You know, nothing. So anyway.
Something, anything.
Something.
You're totally right. My old boss was brutal when people would call. I mean, just brutal.
Oh, yeah.
And and I would feel bad for people on the other end of the phone.
Yeah.
I mean, it was funny, but I feel bad for them. So I get it.
How do you react when people are trying to sell to you? Do you critique them as they're selling to you, or what do you do?
No, I don't. I try to be nice in a way. I guess I do on occasion if the situation warrants it. If they're really bad, I'll just say, hey man, you might want to try it this way. Just think about it this way. What really gets me, and I'm going to harp on this a little bit, is just when people just jump right into what's on their mind without any consideration as to what's going on at the other end of the phone.
Yeah.
You got to have that, because everyone's human, man. That's it.
Yeah. How much has selling changed for you guys in your market during COVID? And now that we're coming out of COVID, or hopefully coming out of COVID, how has selling changed for you guys?
Wow. So like 108, or just complete and total 180. I mean, we went from, referring a lot on retail, referrals, show floor selling, all that stuff during COVID, when I was with Alexis, and everything just completely changed. People were not even in their office. You're trying to engage people on Zoom. You can't really get in front of too many people. You get you're calling me during a pandemic. What are you doing? This is crazy.
Yeah.
So you really had to kind of be on your game and, just kind of plant a lot of seeds, as opposed to trying to, get opportunities. It was almost like you gotta understand what's happening, and, try to figure out when the next deal is going to happen. That was just really a unique experience. And then you had to deal with downsizing and all that cool stuff. It was wild.
What do you think out of that experience is going to stay with us moving forward these years to come?
Well, I think people are going to engage platforms like Zoom and Teams and things like that way more than they did. I think you can get, nothing's ever going to replace face-to-face, being in a room with a group of people, but this is pretty close. It's at least, as opposed to an initial call, just getting somebody on the phone. I've hey, let's hop on a Zoom real quick, and then you could actually see the person and present things on the screen. It just makes it a lot easier. And I think that's really what's changed the face of selling during COVID, for sure.
For me, it's like there's no longer any breaks in between anything anymore. It's true. All back to back to back to back, because it's so much easier now, where it's like, hey, let's set up a Zoom call.
Exactly. Exactly. Are you available at 9:30 tonight? Yeah, sure. Why not?
I don't have a life. I'm stuck at home.
It's cool. Let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think is the hardest thing about being a sales leader?
Finding the right people. I think, finding the right person, and then developing your style that's specific for that person. If you have a team of 5, you have 5 different personalities, and you have to understand how to, work with those 5 different personalities. And so I think that the hardest thing about being a sales leader is A, finding the right person, and then B, developing your style for each individual person and keeping that straight in your head. That can get a little bit time consuming.
Is there anything about your job that you think is easy or came easy for you?
I was always good at relating to people. So what came easy to me is relating to the people who were working with me, and also relating to clients. It was very easy for me to make friends. So I was able to see what people wanted. I was able to see what how I can help people in that regard, and really capitalize on it.
So you mentioned earlier about those losses you learned the most from. Do you remember one deal in particular that was that one you thought you had it and you lost it and it just hurt the most?
Totally. I remember I worked for months on this deal, and it was actually a current client, and it was very big for me at the time. And we went to pitch, and I just botched the presentation. I was so nervous, and I let myself get in my head, and it wasn't good. And just everything kind of fell out of place from there. And we lost that. And I had a lot of eggs in that basket. And a couple lessons I learned there is A, just chill out and relax. It's not the end of the world. And B, don't put your eggs in one basket. You got to diversify and get out there more. And when I took an honest look at myself, I became kind of complacent. And I just started from there and just building and building and building. And it worked.
It takes a lot of self-analysis and ownership to say, hey, I screwed this up. It's on me. What was that like for you? I mean, did that take days, or was that something, what was that process like for you?
Well, that particular process, there was nobody else who could have screwed it up. It was me. But as far as, really looking at myself, that took, until recently. It's just, and I think COVID had a lot to do with that. And I think a lot of people experienced personal growth during COVID. It's really something that I feel is incredibly valuable. Just, being able to look in the mirror and just, be honest with yourself. People have a tough time doing that. And I was one of them. And, that's a tough rut to get out of, and you gotta do it, but you're better off when you do it. You can actually analyze what you're doing on a daily basis, and and even just writing down what you're doing, and it really helps you go back and say, like, okay, I could have done this a little bit better. I could have, this was a waste of time. I didn't need to do this. Yeah.
Do you have like a personal credo or mantra that it kind of drives you forward?
Trying to think of one that's appropriate to say on a podcast. My stepfather had this mantra that I like, and it's, you either do or you don't. You either are going to do it or you're not going to do it. And you can make all the excuses in the world, you can make all the justifications in the world, but the bottom line is you're either going to or you're not. And you actually make that decision relatively early when a task or something comes about.
Yeah. I love that, because that's that takes ownership too. Like if you're going to do it, you got to own it and do it.
Exactly. Accountability is a huge deal. And unfortunately, I think it lacks. Everybody's looking to point the finger at somebody else, but you got to own your stuff, man. That's really it.
Yeah. CRM, do you love it or do you hate it?
I actually love it. I may be maybe rare in that, but honestly, it helps. It helps me stay organized. It helps with it helps with the marketing. It helps with all kinds of stuff, and it's really been something I've been able to leverage in my career to really keep me on task, especially when my business grew.
Yeah, let's talk a bit about the marketing side of CRM and that alignment that you really need to have between marketing and sales for sales to be effective. Do you have any thoughts or beliefs that you can share with us around that, creating that alignment between marketing and sales?
Yeah, that's another thing that happened during COVID, where we took a strong look at our marketing efforts and realized that it was lacking. And we leveraged inbound, we leveraged LinkedIn, we leveraged, just straight up taking pictures and putting them on a LinkedIn profile. And what that ended up doing is driving things to our website. And once that started happening, we were able to kind of tweak that and use SEO and all that cool stuff. And that really developed into a giant lead source for us. So basically what happened is marketing transitioned into sales that way. And it was almost started just an automatic, lead generation tool. It was killer.
What started that process? Was that everyone sitting in a room just saying, "Hey, look, we need to do something different," or what? How'd that start?
It wasn't necessarily sitting in a room. I was taking a look at our sales during COVID and trying to figure out another way to work these accounts. And what happened is, there were things happening out there that we weren't getting in touch with. And what we realized is that there was no brand awareness. No one really knew who we are. So we just started, doing, pay-per-click ads and things like that, and just started driving traffic, and it ended up snowballing. And that led to, things during COVID that we were actually able to capitalize on. And then post-COVID, I don't want to say post-COVID, after 2020, yeah. It actually turned into some pretty lucrative deals.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Why do you think companies struggle to create that alignment between marketing and sales when it comes to that technology, as well as just the people side of it?
I think that sometimes salespeople think that marketing's crap. That it's they're out there doing the legwork, but marketing's the tools that help you get out there and do the legwork. And I think that there is a lack of a connection with that, and I don't think there's an appreciation for it.
Yeah, there's a lot of hard work that goes into the marketing side of things, but if it's done right, like you said, it can be a tremendous lead funnel and really drive the business.
Absolutely.
If there's a listener that's listening to us talk, what advice do you have them to address maybe the same issues they're having that you had when you started your process?
You're talking about the marketing process.
Yeah, to start to create that alignment with marketing and building that lead funnel for their business.
Just be patient and keep at it, and then get your stats together. Get numbers are going to sell salespeople. That's really what it is. So have those numbers and have those ready to go. And then once once salespeople get a taste of it, and how easy it ends up being for them, it'll almost take care of itself.
What kind of a feedback loop did you create to help adjust what marketing was doing? Did you guys have to do any work there?
Well, one of the hats I wore was marketing there too. So the feedback loop was
you.
Me. Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty much it. But I did have to report, and I did have to show numbers, and I did have to say what was going on. So that was usually a weekly thing, where I would post results and things like that. But I was the feedback.
That makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, John, we're at our time here on Sales Lead Dog for this episode. I really appreciate you coming on the show. If people want to reach out, connect with you, they want to learn more about Signum Displays, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, you can hit me up personally on LinkedIn, and I'll give you my email address. It is jmcdonnell@signumdisplays.com. Check out our website, signumdisplays.com, and that's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Yep. And we'll have all that in our show notes if you want to get that info on connecting with John. John, thanks again for coming on Sales Lead Dog.
Chris, it was a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
You bet. I'm glad now you're part of our Sales Lead Dog pack. So that's cool.
I love it.
Awesome.
I love it. All right.
As we end this discussion on Sales Lead Dog, be sure to subscribe to catch all our episodes. On social media, follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Watch the videos on YouTube, and you can also find our episodes on our website at impellercrm.com/Sales Lead Dog. Sales Lead Dog is supported by Impeller CRM, delivering objectively better CRM for business, guaranteed.